Good morning, friends. Welcome to the point. I hope you all are in good graces. Talking about the current video, in this video we will discuss about how the currency of a country appreciates or depreciates. So you must have often seen in news that India has to pay a higher import bill of crude oil because the rupee weakens in the foreign exchange market. So all of this happens because the currency either appreciates or depreciates. Now what is this appreciation and depreciation all about? We will learn in this video. So if I talk about what is appreciation, I will start with an example. So we'll take an example of dollar. So for an example, $1 is equal to 70 rupees. So what does this means? That in order to buy 1 unit of dollar, you have to shell out rupees 70. So here we'll treat $1 as something like a commodity and forget that it is some currency. So $1 is some commodity, so we'll name it as a packet of biscuit. So earlier you have to in order to buy 1 packet of biscuit, you have to take out or spend 70 rupees. Now what if you come to know that you have to spend rupees 68 to buy that same packet of biscuit? So what will be your reaction? You will be happy because earlier you were spending 70 rupees to buy that 1 packet of biscuit. Now you have to spend 68 rupees to buy that 1 packet of biscuit. Now what does this mean? That is that the value of your currency has appreciated because earlier, or it has become stronger because earlier where you have to spend 70, now you just have to spend 68 to buy 1 packet of biscuit, which we were relating it with 1 unit of dollar. So it means either the value of dollar has depreciated because earlier dollar was rupees 70 and now its value has fallen to rupees 68, or you can take it this way also, that the value of Indian currency has appreciated because now it has more buying power. Earlier you can just buy $1 in rupees 70. Now you can buy more unit of dollar in rupees 70 because now the value of $1 is 68. So in order to avoid confusion, we will just consider the Indian currency aspect of it and not consider dollar. So here the value has appreciated, as I told, that it has reduced from now you just have to pay 68 and you can buy 1 unit of biscuit packet, that is 1 unit of dollar. So currency appreciation refers to increase in the value of one currency with respect to the foreign currency. It is a feature of floating or managed floating exchange rate regime, because if you know that in case of fixed exchange rate regime, the exchange rate is already fixed by the central bank of the country and there is no fluctuation that happens. Appreciation or depreciation, that is the fluctuation in foreign currency or the home currency, takes place only when it is allowed to move freely. That happens only in floating or managed floating exchange rate regime. Appreciation of currency takes place when the supply of currency is lesser than its demand in the foreign exchange market. Now this thing we will understand through an example. For an example, if you say there are 10 injections available in the market and there are 20 buyers who wants to buy this injection. Okay, so if you see only 10 injections whereas their buyers are 20. So the cost of 1 injection is 100 rupees. Okay, so the first buyer will go and say give 1 injection at 100 rupees, whereas a second buyer simultaneously come across and say I will pay you 105 rupees for the same injection, but please give me this injection because there are so many buyers whereas the injections are less in the market, which means demand is more, supply is less. As you can see, demand is 20, supply is just 10, so demand is more than the supply. Then if we see, or if we take an example that third person comes up or third buyer comes up and he thinks it is more necessary for him to buy this injection in order to save the life of a person, will quote a rate of 106 rupees. So the third buyer will come and say you give me 1 injection for I'm ready to pay you 106 for the same injection. So what if you're seeing here, the pattern is that the price of the injection is increasing day by day because the demand is more and supply is less in the market. So it has increased from 100 to 105 and 106, and gradually it keeps on increasing because of the difference in demand and supply. So what is happening is the value of injection is appreciating. So same happens in the foreign currency market. When the demand is more, when the demand of Indian rupee is more than the supply, then the value of Indian rupee appreciates. So for an example, earlier, if an American is coming in India and giving $1 in the market and getting it exchanged from Western Union, so that American giving $1 in the Indian market would get 70 rupees in return. Okay, American coming to India and giving $1 to any foreign currency exchanger was getting 70 rupees in return. Now if the value of rupee has appreciated, if the American is coming to Indian market giving $1, just getting 68 rupees in return. So earlier, how much that American was getting? It was getting 70 rupees in return. Now American how much is getting is 68 rupees. So which means the value of Indian rupee has appreciated as compared to dollars. So when the currency of a country appreciates, it leads to reduction in the price of import, or can say that import becomes cheaper, but at the same time it increases the cost of export or makes the goods less competitive. We will take it by an example. So friends, whatever I'm going to explain to you right now, please be little extra alert or attentive, because this will make your life easier if you are able to understand this example properly. You will automatically understand what are the repercussions when the currency depreciates. So for an example, we'll take that on 1st May, the value of $1 is rupees 70. So $1 is equal to 70 rupees. Okay, and an Indian importer is importing goods worth rupees $10. Okay, so there's an Indian company or Indian importer, and that has purchased goods worth rupees $10. So how much that Indian importer has to clear the bill? That is rupees 700. Why? Because the currency exchange rate is 70 rupees $1. So he has purchased goods or imported the goods worth rupees $10. So bill is 10 into 70, that comes to 700. Let's assume on 2nd May the value of Indian rupee has appreciated, and now $1 is equal to 68 rupees. Okay, again this importer has purchased goods rupees $10 from America. Okay, now if you see that 10 into 68 is 680 rupees, right? So earlier, where importer was clearing a bill of rupees 700, now the importer is just giving 680. So if you just try to understand that the importer is in a beneficial position, because earlier where he was paying 700 is now he's paying just 680. That means that importer is in a favorable position when the value of Indian currency appreciates. I will again repeat that whenever the value of Indian currency appreciates, importers are in favorable position, because earlier when they were importing goods worth rupees $10, they were paying 700 because the exchange rate was 70. Now again, if they are importing goods worth rupees $10 and exchange rate is 68, so the bill has reduced because the value of Indian currency has depreciated. Okay, so this was the case with importer. Now coming on to the exporter. Now how does increase in the value of Indian currency makes the goods expensive for the exporters? So for an example, earlier there was an American company and it was importing goods from India, which means that India was sending goods to America. Okay, and the value of goods is rupees 700 Indian rupees. Okay, now this American company has to settle the bill to this Indian company, because America is importing the goods from India. So obviously it has to pay back to India for supplying the goods. Now based on this exchange rate, which is rupees 70, so how much this American company has to pay? 700 divided by 70, that means $10. So American company will give a note of $10 and the bill of Indian company is settled. Okay, now talking about the situation on 2nd May, where the currency has appreciated or the value of dollar has depreciated. Now again the bill is of 700 Indian rupees. Okay, now this American company has to settle the bill of 700 rupees, but the value of currency has changed. Now $1 is equal to 68 rupees. Now how much dollars an American company has to spend to clear the bill of 700 rupees? So it would be 700 divided by 68, which comes to $10.29. So if you see from America's point of view, earlier it was able to clear a bill in just $10. Now it has to clear, if it has to clear a bill, it has to spend $10.29. So from America's point of view, the goods from India are becoming expensive because the value of Indian rupee has appreciated. So America would stop buying or reduce the amount of goods earlier it was importing from India, because now the goods are becoming expensive. Now for an example, on 3rd May, if the value of $1 becomes 65 and this American company has to settle a bill of 700 divided by 65 comes to $10.76. So if you see, day by day the goods for American company which are imported from India are becoming expensive. Earlier on 1st May it was $10, then $10.29, and then $10.76. So the goods for American citizens is becoming expensive. So America would rather stop buying goods from Indian companies because of the currency appreciation of Indian currency. Fine. So I hope it is clear that how currency appreciation impact importer in a different way. The bills get reduced from 700 to 680, whereas for exporter it is not a favorable position because the goods are becoming expensive in the foreign market. From 10 to 10.29 to 10.76, it is able to less compete in the foreign market when the currency appreciates. So for an exporter it is not a favorable position. Now we will quickly take what makes value of home currency appreciate. So first is increase in the policy rate by the central bank. So for an example, if a central bank of a country, in case of India which is RBI, increase its key policy rates, which means that Indian banks are offering now higher rate of interest or if you deposit money in Indian banks. From 8 to it has increased 10%. So India is become now more favorable destination for investment, because earlier where the banks were offering 8% interest rate on saving, now they are offering 10% interest rate on saving. So many foreign institutional investors will bring in dollars to the Indian market and will spend the money or will invest the money in Indian market. So if they bring in dollar, so again the same example of injection, that the demand was more and supply was less. So when the foreign institutional investors will come to India with dollars in their hand, what will they demand? They will demand Indian rupee, because they want to convert the money, convert their dollars into Indian rupee and deposit it with the Indian banks. So the demand of Indian rupee is increasing. So demand is more, supply is less, which means appreciation will take place. Why demand is more? Because they want to convert their dollars into Indian rupees, so which has led to increase in the demand of Indian rupee, and supply is less, leading to increase in the or appreciation in the value of Indian currency. Next is current account surplus. So when is this current account in surplus? Which means that export is greater than import. So larger exports means more dollar inflow in the market, or more demand of Indian rupees in the foreign exchange market. Why? In case if there is current account surplus, which means that exports are increasing. So if exports are increasing, now that means America is also importing from India, Europe is also importing from India, Australia is also importing from India. So India is here, so India is exporting more and more. That means America is importing Europe is importing, Australia is importing. So means there are so many countries which want Indian rupees to settle the bill of Indian companies which are exporting goods to them. So if there are more number of people who are demanding Indian currency in the foreign exchange market, which means again demand is more, supply is less. Why demand is more? Because now American company also wants to settle the bill of Indian company, European country also wants, Australia also wants, and now they are getting in their currency and demanding Indian rupee in return, due to which demand for Indian currency has increased and supply is less, so which leads to currency appreciation. So current account surplus. Now third is increase in export, as I have properly explained you here. Whenever there is increase in exports, so the foreign companies will demand more Indian rupees to settle the bill of Indian companies, demand more, supply less, leading to currency appreciation. Fourth is higher economic growth. So whenever the economic growth in the country is more, which means lot of infrastructure development is taking place, lot of new projects are upcoming, so foreign investors are definitely interested in investing into these developmental projects because of the higher economic growth rate. So what will they bring in? They will bring in dollars, will demand Indian currency, again demand more, supply less, leading to currency appreciation. So now friends, if you would have listened to all of this currency appreciation topic properly, it would be very easier for you to understand what is the impact of currency depreciation. So what is depreciation of currency? So for an example, earlier $1, in order to buy $1 you were spending 70 rupees. Okay, now if you want to, that is on 1st May. Okay, now on 2nd May, if you want to buy $1, you have to spend 72 rupees, which means dollar has become expensive. Or you can say that the value of Indian currency has depreciated, because earlier it has a purchasing power of this, that is you just have to spend 70 and you can get 1 unit of dollar. Now because the currency has become weak, now you have to spend 72 in order to get 1 unit of dollar. So this is what a situation of depreciation of currency. Currency depreciation refers to a decrease in the value of one currency with respect to other foreign currency. It is a feature associated with floating or managed floating exchange rate, because as I told, in case of fixed exchange rate regime, the rates are already fixed and there is no appreciation or depreciation takes place. Depreciation takes place only in the case of where the value fluctuates. That happens in only floating or managed floating exchange rate regime. A currency depreciates with respect to foreign currency when supply of currency in the market increases while its demand falls. So earlier what was there in case of appreciation? Demand was more, supply was less. Again we'll take that injection example. Now if we say there are 20 injections in market, earlier there were 10 injections in market, 20 buyers standing in front of it. Now 20 injections, that means, and 10 buyers, which means supply is more, demand is less. Okay, now there's this dealer who has 20 injections in hand and only 10 buyers are standing outside the market or the shop to buy this injection. So what this stockist will do, earlier the rate of this per injection was 100. Now in order to clear the stock, this stockist will reduce the rate of the injection in order to lure the customer to buy. So he will offer a discount of 2 rupees and will say, I will give you an injection at rupees 98 and please buy the injection. So one of the buyer will come and buy the injection and go. Now the second buyer will come and say, I will you give me at the rate 97 and buy 3 injections. Because the stockist has more injections and less buyers in the market, so he will agree to it and will sell the injection at 97. So if you see, when the supply is more and demand is less, you can see a pattern that the value of injection is going down, which means the depreciation in the value of injection. And if we talk in terms of currency, when the supply of Indian currency is more than its demand, then the same phenomena takes place there, that is the value of Indian currency will depreciate. That is, from 70 it will go to 72 or 74. So this is not, if you must be thinking that it is appreciating. No, earlier you could buy $1 for 70, now you have to spend 72, and later maybe 74. So the purchasing power of your currency is reducing as compared to the foreign currency. So that means depreciation of currency is taking place. When the currency of country depreciates, it leads to increase in the price of import, or can say that imports become expensive. I will explain. I told you to understand the appreciation case properly. It would make your life very easier. So again, we'll take that $1 is equal to 70 rupees. Okay, and the bill is of $10. So importer has to pay 700 rupees to clear the bill of this $10. Now if you assume that now $1 is equal to 72, that is you have to spend 72 to buy $1 or 1 unit of dollar, and again the same bill of $10. So how much this importer has to pay, the Indian importer? 720 rupees. Now if you see, earlier where he was paying 700, now he has to spend more to clear a bill of $10, that is 720 rupees. So if you see, when the value of Indian currency depreciates, it is not a favorable position for the importer, and it is vice versa. When the value of Indian currency depreciates, it is a favorable position for exporter. So if I make a chart in case of appreciation and in case of depreciation, so this importer is in the favorable position and the exporter is in unfavorable position. How? You have to again recall the example of injection, that supply of injection is more and demand is less, then the stockist will offer the discount, and the value will depreciate. And in case of depreciation, importer will be in unfavorable position. How? Earlier it used to pay 700 to clear a bill of $10. Now it has to pay 720 to clear the bill of $10. So in case of depreciation, importer is in unfavorable position and exporter is in favorable position. So I hope it is clear as to how this appreciation and depreciation works. Moving on to the next slide, which talks about the causes of currency depreciation. So the first point is, it is decline in exports. Decline in countries' overall exports lead to decrease in the demand of country's currency and leads to its depreciation. So when the country is exporting less in the foreign market, so there are less number of people in American or European market who are demanding Indian currency, which means that demand is less and supply is more. So whenever there is a situation of demand less and supply more, then it leads to depreciation. Large increase in imports. So whenever there is increased imports in the home country, that is, let's suppose if India is importing more and more, which means that Indian importers would need more and more dollars to settle the bill. Earlier what was happening was, American companies were needing more and more Indian rupees to settle the bill of Indian companies. Now since we are importing more, now these Indian companies would need more and more of dollars to settle the bill of American companies. Okay, now if they are needing more and more dollars, which means they are increasing the demand of dollars and the supply of dollar remaining constant. So demand is more and supply is less, which means value of dollar is increasing, which means that value of Indian rupee is decreasing. So whenever the value of one currency appreciate, it automatically leads to depreciation in the value of other currency. In this case, when due to increased imports, the demand of dollar went up, so demand for dollar is increased, supply is less, so value of dollar appreciates and the value of Indian rupees depreciates. So when there is heavy imports in the country, it leads to currency depreciation. And the monetary policy of central bank, if the central bank is not offering a lucrative rate of interest, the foreign investment which was there earlier in India, the foreign institutional investors would take out that money and would demand more dollars in order to get the Indian rupee which they invested in Indian market. get it converting to American dollars, which means that demand is more of American dollar and supply is less, so it leads to increase in the value of dollars, which indirectly leads to depreciation in the value of Indian currency. Or if we say, when they are selling the Indian rupees in Indian market to get more and more dollars, so supply of Indian rupee will increase. So supply is more, demand is less. When supply is more and demand less, leads to depreciation. So you have to remember simple concept of demand and supply. When demand is more, supply is less, it leads to appreciation of currency. When supply is more, demand is less, it leads to depreciation of the currency. So friends, I know this was little technical topic, but everything is very logical if you try to relate it. You just have to remember one simple example of that injection. So you have to start with less number of injections, that is 10 injections, and 20 buyers standing to buy those 10 injections. Demand less, supply less, demand more, leads to appreciation. When we just reverse the situation, 20 injections and 10 buyers, which means supply is more, demand is less, leading to depreciation on the value of injection or say currency. And rest of the situations you can form easily, how it leads to how it is favorable for importer and not favorable for exporter. In case of depreciation, how it is unfavorable for importer and favorable for exporters. So friends, just please do revise this video because it was little lengthy and little technical concept. Also please try to correlate this with the example that I've explained you in the video. So friends, this is all for the today's video. Thank you so much for your patience.